Hello. So again, we are solving data structures and algorithm question which are asked in interview. Before I start this question, I would to like to tell you that if you want to read about this question in English, Hindi, or in English, English is a Hindi written in English form which is used for texting and messaging. That documentation will be in the link below. Go and check it out. And if you want to watch this same video in Hindi, that video link will be in the description below. So you can watch the Hindi video if you want to. Okay, now let's understand what our question is saying. Let's understand the structure of our functions function, and let's do this. So again, we have a question of intervals, and in this, what it is saying that we have to find a overlapping value, and we have to just exclude that so that we have uh, no overlapping intervals. But in output, we have to return how many intervals we have removed. So again, let's start with the structure of function. So as you can see, our function is taking an input of vector which consists of integer inside a vector. So our input is this, and we have to return an integer. So erase overlapping interval. So we don't have to return an interval which we are erasing, but we have to return how many intervals we have erased, right? So to check whether there is an interval between two vectors, we compare this end value to this begin and this end value, right? So all we can do is we can make a vector where we can store the previous value, right? We can store this value, previous value, and we can just traverse through it. And if the previous value is greater than, if the previous value, let's say this value is greater than our, let's say I zeroth value, we don't have to do anything. We have to just increase the value of answer. We will first make a integer of answer where the value of answer will be -1, and we have to return this. So every time we will encounter the interval, the two vectors which are equal to each other, or which have not equal to but which have interval between each other, we will just increase this answer, and we will not do anything. We will not take them in account. We will erase it, and we will pass through it because we don't want that. And if our previous is equals to I, in that case we want to point to be minimum. We want this point to be minimum because to have two non-overlapping interval, we want to have the end point to be minimum. So 1 and 2, this should be minimum. Then what's here? In that case, there is no interval. But if there is an interval, we will just increase the answer. And this is our logic. And we will make a custom comparator. What it will do, it will, let's say, we will mark this as a vector. We will say check for a1, not I, a1. If a1 is less than b1 or not. So we will check that. If a1 is not less than b1, this whole process will go on. That our previous will check for an I, and then we will just increase the value of answer, and we want our previous to be I, so that the value here should be minimum, right? And yeah, this is how we will do this question. Let me write the code, and I will explain you while writing the code, right? So let's first let's make a comparator first, because I think that's very like straightforward. So let's say uh, compare. We will say bull comp, or it will take what? It will take our vector type int, vector of type int, and it will reference a, not capital A, but a, and okay, here is a typo, and there will be a vector of type int which will reference b. Okay, and we have to just check whether a1 is less than b1. If that's the case, return this, because if a1 is less than b1, that means there is no overlapping, so we have to return. So this is our custom comparator, which we will use to compare the value here. Let's say this is a, this is b. Okay. Okay. Now let's make our variable int answer, which is -1. Initial value of answer should is -1, will be -1. Okay. Now we will go and write our base condition. So our base condition is if interval has no value, right? If interval has no value, then there is nothing to return, so we will just return 0. So interval dot size is equals to 0, then just return 0, because there is no value to return, so we will just return 0. Okay, this is our base condition. Now what? So we can say we can sort our this interval so that our life is easy, and if we sort, obviously the smaller number will come before the larger number. Then, like, it is very, it we have to just compare between one end and one start to get our response from there. So we will say inter intervals dot begin, so interval from beginning to end, intervals dot end, and compare also. Like, we will also use our comp function here to compare, right? So after doing this, after comparing this, we can say just make a vector of type integer which will store integer, and let's name it previous, and it will store what? It will store our interval zeroth value, so smallest value like 1, like this value. This will store 1 zeroth index of our interval, right? So if make a previous vector, make a vector of name previous which stores an integer, and it will store our zeroth index. And what we have to do is we have to just traverse through previous. We have to traverse to interval, sorry, not previous. So it's vector dot int I. Let's, so this is short for I0, I1, I2, and till interval. So this is same writing as I is equals to 0, I is less than equal to the size I1. So this represents all, like from I to all the values of interval. This will go, okay, this will traverse, and what it will do, it will just check previous, if previous 1. So if previous this value, if this value, previous this value, if previous this value is greater than I 0. So if that's the case, if this value is greater than our previous first, then answer plus plus, then there is an this overlapping. If that's not the case, else what we have to do is we have to just say previous is equals to I, right? Then we will come out of this loop, and we have to just return answer. So I hope this should work. And so what it is doing here, we will check for previous I is greater than I0, right? We are storing the zeroth value of interval, which is 1 in previous, and we will check whether our I0 value is greater than previous is greater than or smaller than previous first value. If that's the case, that means there is an overlapping. Increase the answer value, it will increase the answer value. All else, previous is equals to y, we will not change the previous value, and we will just return the answer. Let's run this. So there is this issue here, intervals not interval, and as you can see, all the test case has been passed. So there's that. I hope this is clear. If you want to read about this code in detail, if you have some doubt, I will encourage you to go through the documentation which I have written, and the link is in the description. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Till then, bye. Peace.